There are two additional options for the Dodgers to add even more starting pitching without overpaying. Keenan Allen hints at returning to LA, but should we really be that excited? And with National Signing Day approaching, has USC football really crashed and burned? Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. It's November 29th, 2024, and no, for Thanksgiving, we did not and will not create any idiotic what we have to be thankful for lists. That's just lazy. Later tonight, we're going to fly home. I'm going to fly home. I'm totally looking forward to it. But in the meantime, if you like being in the know about LA sports, clickety-clack the like button. Clickety-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It'll let you know when we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know it exists, and by all means comment. And by the way, side note, thank you to the people who reached out to me on this channel to wish me happy Thanksgiving. I basically sat here by myself and stared at the wall. So be it. But before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. St. Mary's 71, USC basketball 36. When USC finally plays legit competition, I was sitting there thinking we were going to finally learn if this rapid fire Eric Musselman rebuild, how it was going, right? St. Mary's last year was a 5th seeded team in the NCAA tournament. I would call that legit. And man, did we learn a lot because the Trojans got the living hell kicked out of them. 36 points for a team coached by a guy who is considered an offensive innovator. 36 points. The last time the Trojans scored that few points was 2011. The coach of that team was Kevin O'Neill, and after that dude got fired, he hasn't coached since. 36 points. Josh Cohen was the only player to hit double figures with 12. And I want to give you this extra tidbit. This is not the first Big Ten team that St. Mary's has faced. They beat Nebraska less than 2 weeks ago. But the Cornhuskers at least gave St. Mary's a game. Last night was an ass kicking. So you couple that with 5 pretty unconvincing wins, there is a really good chance that for all the bluster, USC simply isn't going to be a good basketball team. Now, I'm not trying to say Eric Musselman can't coach, but for a guy known for rapid turnarounds, right now, I don't see it. Meanwhile, today, Oklahoma City is at the Lakers at 7 o'clock. The NBA Cup. You know, combined in the in-season tournament of last year with the current cupness, the Lakers are 9-1 in this sham tournament, to which we all give the biggest of whoops. Clippers are at Minnesota at 4:30. This is the finale of a 4-game road trip for the Clippers. Norman Powell has missed 5 consecutive games. He's considered questionable to play tonight. And the Kings are at Anaheim at 12:30. Anze Kopitar and Adrian Kempe have combined for 36 points in the last 15 games. Unfortunately, those are the only guys that the Kings could rely on for scoring. But let's get to the news. If any other major league team had went out and added Blake Snell, and you were a fan of that team, you'd probably say, you know what, cool, but we're kind of done. Not too many more big names coming here. But this is the Dodgers. And if you're thinking that more players are on the way, you should. Not just because of the opulence of the Dodgers. You know, like Dodger Stadium is like the Vatican in terms of opulence. Not because of the FU money that makes us all look at the Dodgers like they're owned by the Illuminati. No, it's because in addition to the money, the Dodgers love shredding arms. It's like their hobby. I love my team, but they have this approach to pitching that's borderline sadomasochistic. You know, you're a guy, you come on in, you get the meeting, and you're like, hey, welcome to the Dodgers. We're going to teach you a brand new way to pitch. And meanwhile, you're saying, hey, that's great. But what's with all the whips and restraints? It's sadomasochistic out there with their teaching pitching. Now, GM Brandon Gomes had already said that starting pitching was going to be the priority this offseason. This after last year, though, because they loaded up on arms then. And when the playoffs came around, they were still left rooting through urgent care, trying to find anyone with an elbow that worked. So I say this not as a prediction. I'm simply setting the landscape for you guys. The Dodgers would prefer to avoid further luxury tax thresholds, right? I mean, they're not totally up against that precipice, but if you can find a cheaper pitcher, you consider it because they have more holes to fill. The outfield, for example. So I say all that because I can see two options in mind. Garrett Crochet of the White Sox would be one. He was a target of the Dodgers at the trade deadline last year. And why? Aside from his talent, aside from the 209 strikeouts last year that Crochet had on a trash team, you would also go out of your way to get Crochet because he wasn't even making $1 million last year. He's arbitration eligible now, but even then you're probably saying he's going to get a contract of about $10 million to $15 million. That dude, Garrett Crochet, is not a diamond in the rough. Garrett Crochet is a Rolex watch in a Goodwill bin. Now, of course, the deal's not going to be easy. The White Sox, they're still changing the bandages from the bleeding head wound that they got in their last trade from the Dodgers. Miguel Vargas for Michael Kopech. Anybody remember that? So, say for a moment that Chicago doesn't want to get a second pistol whipping from Andrew Friedman. Well, then comes the second option, Roki Sasaki of Japan. Now, there are a variety of rules for signing Japanese players. And if I tried to list them here, it would just blur the point. It's in the weeds. It's a lot of numbers to throw around. It's not going to translate well in a YouTube posting. But if Sasaki wants to play for the Dodgers, he's only going to come in for a few million. Not kinda cheap, exceptionally cheap. Cheaper than sexy red. Consider Shohei Ohtani. He got a bonus of just a couple of million when he originally came to the Angels. Just a couple. That kind of money would be enough to get Roki Sasaki in Dodger Blue if he wants to come to LA. Meanwhile, there's still more wild-ass Dodgers rumors to add. A scribe thinks that they're going to go after former Boston outfielder Tyler O'Neill, who's a free agent. That's just another name pulled out of another butt. I wouldn't buy into that. And then you might also hear another garbage rumor that the Dodgers are hot to trade Dalton Rushing to St. Louis for reliever Ryan Helsley. The Belcher report lists Rushing as a trade piece. I doubt that. I doubt it a lot. There are way too many questions in the Dodger outfield for them to sit there and say, let's send our best guy. Keenan Allen was asked about his offseason plans because that offseason is going to come super close after the Bears forgot how to tell time at Detroit yesterday. Allen went on a podcast I don't listen to, and he said, quote, "It's Chicago or I'm back in LA," unquote. Now, I suppose you could be cute and add the Rams, but I think we can all guess what he's inferring, right? But here comes the follow-up question that wasn't asked. Do you believe him? Remember, last offseason, he said he had made enough money, he's got generational wealth, and he would rather retire than play anywhere else but the Chargers. Charger for life. And then he went to Chicago anyway. Keenan Allen's word is worth about as much as the word of your average USC football recruit. So before you get all excited about the Bolts finally having somebody with functioning hands, Keep in mind, there's going to be other teams with a booty load of salary cap space and a need at wide receiver. This time next year, Keenan Allen might be on a podcast saying, I'm either going back to LA or I'm staying in Cleveland. Because the Browns have a lot of cap space. There are 4 teams out there with more than $30 million in cap space and the need to get wide receivers for a new quarterback. Oh, I'm either going back to LA or I'm staying in New England. Those type of teams. And we haven't even discussed if he is still the guy who was so reliable when he was with the Bolts. The guy only has 44 catches this year. He's had 5 seasons in his career with more than 100 receptions. Now, granted, he's working with a rookie quarterback, but he's also going to be 33 next year. With all the changes with USC football's recruiting class, I want to at least reset where they stand. Not going through all the players, that would take too much time. Just a holistic look. On3.com and 24/7 Sports currently ranks the Trojans as having the 14th best recruiting class in the nation. They have 21 players who have committed, and they have 12 dudes who decommitted, and of course, those are the ones that we all complain about. That is 33 different teenagers, and this is why I don't take recruiting that seriously, because I don't want to obsess over teenagers. That gets me on a government watch list. No thanks. To hear Lincoln Riley discuss it, it's like the dude expected this turbulence all along. Quote, "You're going to see guys moving around. That's just the world that we're in right now. Players have always changed their mind, and changing it more in the last several years. They're probably changing it more and more than ever before. It's probably upticked as time went on, but there are a lot of schools changing their mind too. It's not like the schools are going to jump in front of the cameras like this and say that," unquote. It's a roundabout way of saying they're teenagers. If you're a parent of a teenager, you know damn well what we're all talking about. We mentioned recently that Rams tight end Tyler Higbee has recently started practicing with the team again. The first time that it's been going on since a cheap shot artist in the abandoned crap hole known as Detroit blew Higbee's knee to smithereens. If you're wondering about Higbee's progress, he's unlikely to play Sunday. Meanwhile, Josh Carty was drafted with the idea that he would solve the Rams' special teams problems once and for all. But the dude has missed field goals in 3 consecutive games. So not as steady as we had previously hoped. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me, for example, about if you're now prioritizing starting pitching still with the Dodgers, or if you've just got a man crush on Juan Soto. For that matter, Keenan Allen, possibly a Charger again? Do you buy that? And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're going to talk LA sports every single day here. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortel Queso production. Take care.